Hi, I'm Dr. Manon. I'm a holistic physician specializing in holistic hormone care for women over 45. And after menopause, I started reacting to foods that I had eaten my entire life, like dairy and gluten, even onions and garlic, foods that I love and I never had a problem with before. And on top of that, my anxiety was through the roof, and I couldn't sleep through the night to save my life. Every doctor I saw told me the same thing, it's just menopause, but I always questioned why women in other countries with different diets went through menopause so easily without all the symptoms of women that have a Western diet. And I always suspected there was something deeper going on. And when I finally found the answer, it wasn't in a hormone panel or a pill, it was in my gut. So today I want to introduce you to something called the Estrobolome. And I promise you that once you understand this, you'll never look at your symptoms the same way again. So let me take you back to what actually was happening in my body, because I have a feeling it's going to sound familiar to many of you. After menopause, my progesterone dropped significantly. And progesterone is known as the calming hormone. And I didn't really know that at the time, but it is what helps you sleep, it keeps your anxiety in check, and it balances out the estrogen. And when it drops, you feel it. The anxiety creeps in, the sleep starts falling apart, you feel wired but exhausted at the same time. And here's what almost no one talks about, and it took me a long time to figure this out. Progesterone also plays a critical role in your gut. Who knew? It supports those little junctions in your gut lining, and think of these as the seals between the cells of the intestinal wall. And that's what keeps undigested food particles and toxins and bacteria where they belong, in your gut and going out of your body, not into your bloodstream. But when progesterone drops, those seals start to weaken and the gut becomes more permeable, and suddenly your immune system starts reacting to foods that it used to tolerate just fine. And that's what was happening to me. So my growing food sensitivities weren't just random, and they weren't in my head. They were a direct signal that my gut lining was compromised, and it was directly tied to my hormone imbalance, my decline of progesterone specifically. And here's where it gets even more interesting, because this is a two-way street. My gut wasn't just being affected by my hormones, my gut was also controlling my hormones. And that's where estrobolome comes in. So what the heck is the estrobolome? I've heard this word thrown around, and this is something a lot of people don't understand. So it's a specific collection of bacteria that's responsible for metabolizing estrogen in our gut. It's a built-in hormone management system, and here's how it works. And stay with me, because this is the part that will make everything click together. Your liver processes estrogen and then packages it up for elimination, essentially flagging it, saying, we're done with this, send it out now. And it gets packaged and sent into your digestive tract through the bile. And here's where your gut bacteria step in. Certain bacteria produce an enzyme that only recently discovered called beta-glucuronidase. And what this enzyme does is unpackage that estrogen. It reactivates it and sends it back into your bloodstream. And in a healthy, balanced gut, this is normal. Your body is recycling a small, appropriate amount of estrogen to maintain balance. The problem happens when your gut microbiome is disrupted, and that disruption happens at menopause. And it's made significantly worse by certain medications like antibiotics, processed foods, chronic stress, what researchers now call the industrialization of our diet. And when the microbiome is out of balance, one of two things happen. You have too much recycling and end up with estrogen dominant symptoms like bloating, breast tenderness, mood swings, brain fog, and weight gain that won't budge. or too little recycling and estrogen drops too low and you have hot flashes, bone loss, vaginal dryness, depression, accelerated aging. The term estrobolome was coined in 2010 when researchers using metagenomics, essentially DNA mapping of the gut, they identified exactly which bacteria genes were responsible for this process. And what they found connected the dots on these conditions that women have been struggling with for decades and still are, like PCOS, endometriosis, estrogen dominant symptoms, a full spectrum of all kinds of menopausal symptoms. But this is where scientists and practitioners really were amazed. Two women could have the exact same hormone levels on a blood test and have completely different set of symptoms. One feeling completely fine, the other one falling completely apart. The difference was in their gut, the health and diversity of their estrobolome. This wasn't just interesting science, this was a missing piece that changed everything. So now that you understand what the estrobolome is and why it matters, what is going to fix yours? And let me be very direct with you. One thing that I see in many of my new patients is eating store-bought yogurt, thinking that this is going to help fix their gut. But unfortunately, it really does almost nothing. And I know that's not what the wellness industry wants you to hear, but when it comes to restoring the estrobolome and rebalancing hormone metabolism, you need a much more targeted, intentional approach. So let's talk about the 5-step protocol that I use in practice that actually works. All right, step 1, targeted strain-specific probiotics. So not generic probiotic blend that you get off the shelf in the drugstore. You need to know exactly what strains that you're taking and why, because different strains do different things. So the research specifically supports the strains that I'm going to go over with you now for estrogen metabolism and restoring the estrobolome. So Lactobacillus rhamnosus is shown to lower that enzyme beta-glucuronidase activity, helping your body properly eliminate excess estrogen. Bifidobacterium lactis also reduces that beta-glucuronidase and improves the detoxification pathways. Bifidobacterium breve, Lactobacillus crispatus, shows strong promise in modulating estrogen metabolism and reducing inflammatory load. So when you're shopping, flip the bottle over. You want to see the strain level specificity, not just lactobacillus. It needs to have the full strain name. And look for a product that is refrigerated, third-party tested, and has a CFU count of 10 to 50 billion. All right, not million, billion. Step 2, feed the good bacteria with prebiotics. So probiotics need fuel, and without it, they don't colonize properly in your gut. So they just will pass through. So things like ground flaxseed feeds the beneficial bacteria and supports estrogen detox. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower contain DIM, which directly supports healthy estrogen metabolism. Garlic and onions are rich in inulin, which is a prebiotic fiber. So those are all things that can help feed your gut. All right, now how about healing the gut lining? And this is where a lot of women get stuck, including me. So it was recommended that I try L-glutamine, and I read about it everywhere, and I'll tell you the truth, it just didn't move the needle. I was on it for months and really nothing changed. That's because of the fact that the way that it works, it takes a long time. So there are other things that we can do that can actually speed up this process. So what the research is now pointing to, and what I find far more compelling, is quercetin. Quercetin is a flavonoid. It's a plant compound, and it works differently from the L-glutamine. It is more direct in its targeting and upregulates the proteins that form those junctions in your gut lining that actually seal the lining. So quercetin helps to close them, and it does it faster. And here's what really got my attention. Quercetin is also a mast cell stabilizer, and mast cells are part of your immune system. So when your gut lining is compromised, they can go into overdrive, triggering reactions to foods that you've eaten your whole life, like getting hives and things like that, skin conditions. Quercetin calms that immune overreaction directly. So this is why it can make a noticeable difference faster than L-glutamine alone. And on top of that, it feeds beneficial bacteria that then produce compounds to further restore the gut barrier. So it's actually working on multiple levels simultaneously. That's what I like about it. So this is the gut lining repair protocol. Quercetin with bromelain, 500 to 1,000 milligrams daily. The bromelain is important. It helps to increase the quercetin absorption. And this is your front line of gut lining repair. Zinc carnosine. Look for clinically studied form called Pepzin GI. 75 milligrams daily. This works synergistically with the quercetin to seal the gut lining and has its own strong clinical evidence. All right, the L-glutamine, as I said, is helpful, but most formulas actually don't have enough because you need to take about 5 grams daily to support that long-term cellular repair, and a lot of them that I see don't have that level. Collagen peptides or bone broth. This is one of the good things that bone broth does because it supports the mucosal layer that sits on top of the gut lining, and you have to take it every day for it to really be effective, the consistency. So you look for gut repair formulas that contain all of these ingredients, and they might also contain things like slippery elm or marshmallow root, aloe vera. All of those can help assist in this process of your gut. Okay, step 4 is support your liver, because the estrobolome and the liver work together as a team. So if your liver is sluggish, it can't properly package the estrogen for elimination in the first place. So no amount of probiotic is going to fully compensate if your liver is compromised. So things like calcium D-glucarate directly blocks that enzyme, the beta-glucuronidase enzyme, and supports liver estrogen clearance. Milk thistle, very helpful, supports the liver detox pathway. Adequate hydration. Your liver needs water to process and eliminate hormones efficiently, and this one is free, and most of us are still not doing enough. I have to remind myself all the time to drink my water. Okay, step number 5, address the progesterone deficiency. That's really critical. That was a missing piece for me for many years. Low progesterone. Now, progesterone is what helps maintain the gut lining in the first place. So if this becomes a cycle of low progesterone to leaky gut, which leads to more inflammation, which leads to more hormone disruption, then you have to address both ends of it. So healing your gut will support your hormones, but if your progesterone is depleted, then you're kind of working against yourself. So taking progesterone in some form is very helpful. I like to use the cream. There's an oil that I use that you drop into your mouth that I find highly effective. So here's what I want you to take away from everything that I just shared with you. Your food sensitivities, your anxiety, your sleep issues, your hormone symptoms are really not separate problems. They're all related to each other, and they're in a conversation your body is having with you. They're warning signs. They're trying to tell you something is wrong, but we just haven't been listening. The estrobolome is the bridge between your gut and your hormones. And now that you know, you can start working with it instead of against it. And here's the thing, every woman's hormone picture is a little bit different. We're all different, and one size does not fit all. And that's why most important next step is not to just go out and buy a probiotic. It's to find out which hormones in your body are out of balance. because that changes everything about how you approach this. So the next step I recommend is to take our holistic hormone quiz, and that will identify your top 2 hormone imbalances based on your specific symptoms. And once you complete it, we'll reach out to you to personally talk you through what your results mean and what your next step looks like, whether that's working together one-on-one or joining our holistic hormone school community where we can go deeper into all of this together. So the link to the quiz is in the description and pinned in the comments. Go take it. Its video resonated with you, especially if you've been dealing with new food sensitivities, anxiety, sleep issues. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. Tell me what you're experiencing, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. All right, we'll see you on the next video. Namaste.